Hello everyone, my name is MansaMusa and welcome back to my channel, and today is part 2 of the Underrated video I shot with Advanced Warrior, Deejus, Elagatua, Humita, Sulfurent, and myself. If you missed part 1, go ahead and check it out up top. You should definitely watch that video first. But in today's video, we're going to be covering the topics that we didn't cover at the end of the last video, which includes everything from Fog of War topics, some discussions about strategies, and even some things about the site itself. In addition, everyone featured in this video will also be linked down below, so after this video, go check them out as well. With all that being said, though, let's hop right into this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of the discussion. Bye, guys. Alright, keeping going on the fog plan. So we've done a lot of CO stuff. We're going to switch it up a little bit into more... I kind of want to talk a little bit more about strategy. So next in the docket would be doing very early tech ups in fog. So like not base skipping, but tank skipping. Essentially, so getting out just more infantry and then sending out a very early Neo, like, maybe day 8, something like that, like super early, just go recons, infantry, and just your first vehicle is essentially a Neo.
I honestly haven't seen much or any of it.
It's a low elo play for sure. I've seen it.
Are we gonna go over under on this?
The disco day play style.
It's a little bit.
That's the whole point. That's the whole point of this video. So
yeah.
I have my answer.
Yeah. All right. So we'll vote in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of overrates. I'll give some defense here. Yeah.
All right, defend your thesis.
My thesis is it's bad. It's unmistakably bad. Like, it's not going to be necessarily the best play, but I do think it can be very strong as a bluffing tool. So like, you kind of have to scare your opponent. So what I've done in the one match where this worked for me is I sent out infantry and some recons to the side that I wasn't sending my Neotank to fake presence over there, so they couldn't get aggressive and punish me. And the side I was aggressing on, I kind of acted like that was my weak side. I just put out some infantry in the front, let in his tanks to come, and I was just taking a risk that his battlecopter wasn't going to come down with me, so it was just 3 tanks. And then I came on with my Neo, I kill a tank the first turn, I kill a tank the second turn, and then I back up. And then the side that I acted like I was strong on, I haven't lost any, because then I'm actually weak on. I haven't lost any value. And the side I was acting like I was weak on, but I was actually strong on, I'm now getting an advantage in with unit count by killing 2 tanks and then starting to get some infantry caps. Obviously, it's incredibly risky. And on maps where there's kind of like 3 fronts where you have to focus on like a middle as well, like bigger maps, for example, I don't think it's as good. But I think it can work, and especially in lower elo where you're not going to get punished as much by it, I think it can be a pretty strong mix-up.
Yeah, I guess in the lower, maybe mid, is where it can work better. Because I was thinking, when you're fighting more higher elo, people are calculating the turns. I mean, unless we're talking about live, but I assume we're talking about async, right? And people will plan the turns, the capture phase, the funding in general, and they'll be, okay, they can have a recon in this area by this turn, or they can have a tank by this turn. And if you start not seeing that stuff, you're like, there's not a recon? Okay, they might be going tank. Oh, I don't see a tank? Okay, they might... And then you also see a Neo tank day 8, and it's like, okay, then they have nothing on this other side. I'm just gonna go ham. Like, go on the other side. Or you can just kill all the stuff that's around the Neo tank as well. And like, yeah, the Neo tank will slap back, will kill that tank, maybe 2, but the Neo tank still costs 22k, and 2 tanks are 14. So that Neo tank has to kill like 3 tanks for it to kind of pay for itself, or just be even pretty much. Yeah. But infantry are very valuable, like, I know they're just 1k, but usually fog maps are pretty big as well, so replenishing those infantry numbers are very hard. And if you just start losing infantry fights because you didn't have support for them, the other one is going ham with their single tank or 2 tanks on the other front and just start shooting all your infantry on one side where the new tank isn't, you're not going to recover that side. Like, sure, maybe you'll win the other, but you lost the other. It's kind of like a handshake, perhaps, of trading sides, but I don't know. Infantry is going to be hard to replenish. You're going to need T-copters, and then you're going to need more support units. It's also blind, so if you lose the unit count, the new tank can shoot at anything, unlike recons or tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I voted overrated because I'm kind of speaking from experience. I'm trying to remember what the name of the map is called. It's like a ring of forests. There's 4 comp towers. Like there's like a circle of shoals around
Like
the map.
Crossfire or something? Or Dragons in the Dark?
I think Dragons in the Dark.
I think so. Yeah. My one friend. I was playing with my one friend, and he learned an opening from Kant Bay, and it was like a really early Neo tank, and it absolutely did catch me off guard. But I was able to somehow bounce back and still win that game. What was our elos? I completely forgot. But it also feels like that if you're just gonna build a Neo tank, your turns just feel a lot less dynamic. Like there's 3 decently sized things you can attack with 3 tanks rather than just like 1 Neo tank, and it just means that they have like less to do against you, and that's pretty much my reasoning. It's like it feels like you're pulling out a queen in chess, but there's like no other units to like try to cover spots or try to protect or support the queen. So yeah, that's why I say early tech up Neo tank is overrated.
I want to go last this time because I've gone first a lot.
Go for it.
All right.
Oh, am I going now? All right, I'm going now. So yeah, I pretty much endorse everything that's been said already, and I won't try to recap any of that. But many times in Fog, fights are won for simpler reasons than you think. Very often it comes down to who has more units that can shoot the other guy's units. And the problem with Neo tanks is that by the time you're getting enough income to be able to build units like that, you could have instead started activating your airports and put out copters and things like that as an alternative. And in practice, that often tends to be better. And additionally, it's one of those almost like poker scenarios where it's like, if I raise in this scenario, they'll only call me if they have like the nuts, or they'll only call me if they have something that beats me. Otherwise, so there's like no way that I could raise and get more money out of them if I'm winning.
Right.
And I feel like the early techs are very similar to that, where if you start a fight and you're able to like bait them in to this fight, and then you reveal the Neo tank, and that's like your centerpiece unit, they're either going to have something that can counter it, which would normally be like an artillery or maybe copters in this case, in which case they fight you, or they don't. And so if they know what they're doing, they just run away and fight somewhere else instead, and maybe you get a free tank. That's kind of like the best scenario, but there's like a limit to the amount of value that you can get in revealing a Neo tank without any further support, because you don't have a way to really continue the fight. So think about it from like an alternative perspective. Which would you rather have? Would you rather have a fight begin where you've got 5 tanks, and then the brawl continues to the next turn when your Neo tank arrives and joins the fight that's already in progress? That's very valuable. But if you start the fight with a Neo tank and then you have 3 tanks come the next turn, well, if your opponent can't fight you, then they will be retreating away, and your 3 tanks will reinforce a empty fight.
Right. Yeah. I think it's definitely suboptimal. I'm not going to make the statement that I think it's a strong play. I think it is something that.
But you did.
Yeah, I made the argument that it's a surprising play. I think it's a play that you can catch people off guard with. But I think the higher the elo, the more people, even if they do get caught off guard with it, and like you say, you get a free tank, you get positioning, like the ideal case. I don't think it's an instant game winner in the way that some of the other stuff that we've been talking about is. But
no. Yeah, even low elo, it's like basically I'm thinking through it. It's like would I rather have 2 tanks or tank copter, or a Neo in Fog?
Yeah.
And in general, like I would actually argue like a tank copter or tank like or that early, because it's to put it bluntly, I can fire twice with 2 tanks, or exactly. I can fire, but I can only fire once with a Neo. and it's usually firing at something like an infantry or something. Unless
Yeah.
I like hide it for a few turns. In that case, why did I just buy it later?
The only time I've ever done something similar-esque is I would spam copters against a grit in fog. That's the only time I like ever did anything that's like a non-tank opener or like non-recon, non-APC opener. It's like battlecopters, like they probably have a tank for recons or tank for tank, artillery for tank, but I just like started spamming copters and got a pretty early lead off of that.
Yeah.
I think the only scenario where the Neotank opener could win, I mean, of course, the funding would have to be nice for it to be not that late, but also only if the opponent is like blindly tank chaining on one side and that is it. And like you send the Neotank to that side, and then you're just like munching on all these tanks that are coming in. Then they're tank chaining like 3, 4, 5 tanks, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty
But usually
dudes.
people I mean, and that can happen in the mid levels. It's pretty often like usually you can win off of that in the mid levels. But once you're playing against higher level players, people just start mixing recons early, RD. There's all kinds of mixes and compositions. And the Neotank, like Software said, like you're probably just gonna be shooting at an infantry because if you don't have support units to clear the other stuff, then your Neotank is gonna be the one clearing stuff. So kind of loses its purpose.
Yeah.
I hope it would be better, but yeah, just realistically.
I think the main downside of it overall actually is that even though I think it can work in low to mid level play, it's like not every time, but like on certain maps and in good scenarios, it's definitely not going to work in high level play. So it's like you're practicing something that is going to be bad long term. So it's just like a bad habit, I would say. But hey, if you want to go crazy one game, you're like 3 beers in low level, try it out and see what you think. Yeah.
Definitely, you can try it out in live, maybe. I don't know. Someone's blindly
get someone has a minute left on their timer. Just throw taking too
Just
long. Throw it in Neo.
tank.
Yeah, good work. Okay, moving on to our last fog topic, and it was the one that we hinted at earlier as maybe another very contested one, which was mixed base maps for fog. Generally that concept overall. I looked through Global League. I don't think there's a single mixed base map right now for fog in the Global League, and maybe for good reason that we can discuss. But yeah, so kind of this one's less, I guess, over or underrated, but just what do you feel about them in general? So I guess we don't really need to vote for this one, but yeah. Anyone can take the lead if they want.
I remember. Oh, okay.
Go.
Okay, I just wanted to comment saying that I remember the mixed base fog tournament, and I definitely feel like it's going to be like hard to pull off because a lot of it kind of came down to like partial information. Like we already have maps that already offer partial information, like To Athos, I think it's called. One with like the recon in the backcourt. I remember you told me you hated that one.
I do hate that one.
You remember? We already have like 2 Athos, which is like a base light, I think. And like mixed base is probably like 3 or 4. A lot of it just like kind of comes down to like the vision that is provided for each of the players, because I'm pretty sure there's some degenerate stuff that can happen if it was all blind and they just pull off something that could like maybe end the game too soon, or just like if the opponent didn't do this one specific thing, then they lost because they didn't do that one specific thing. And like, yeah, I feel like it's just like it's gonna give the map committee like a hell of a time to like even try to play test. Sorry, Humita, like a hard time to like play test and figure out like what really is optimal for a mixed base fog. I'd say it's probably better to keep it on the casual side unless a new wave of players comes in and they just bring in like a whole different strat that could be like, oh, maybe this is potentially viable. But yeah, I just keep it casual for now.
I can drop some bombs if you want.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. So I have some, I guess, reasonably complicated opinions about this. I mean, if I had to go like over underrated, I'd actually go underrated.
Yeah, underrated, dude, absolutely.
And the reason why I think there's potential there, I really do. But the problem right now is that if you're going to have a mixed base fog map, you need to have some kind of spy mechanic. If you're not familiar with what that means, it means usually generally some like pre-deployed unit that gets vision to your opponent's side of the map, oftentimes being able to see like what the bases are building.
A recon or so.
And sometimes the spy can last a long time. Sometimes it kind of naturally gets cleared out to hide that information later on. Kind of depends on the map. The problem, at least right now, is that in my experience, map makers do not have a very sophisticated understanding of how to make good spy mechanics. And so when I see the mixed base maps come in, the primary reason why I don't like them is not actually because of the mixed base aspect of it. It's because the spy mechanics are poorly thought out. That being said, there's been a lot of improvements lately to the map system that open up new avenues, like having low HP pre-deployed units and things like that. And so I feel like there's opportunity for us as a community to get better. And I feel like we can reach a point where we can make this viable. But we have, a lot of historical maps that, were made under the old limitations, like 2 Athos, which is, in my opinion, dreadful. But I feel like there's hope there. Like in the recent Smacky Cup 4, we had After Hour Animals, which in my opinion has the best implemented spy mechanic that I've seen in a map so far. It was really good. It really made the map better. I was very impressed by that. And I think that now that there's more flexibility, we can have even more of that in the future and maybe get there. So underrated for now, potential for the future, and I'm optimistic that maybe it can become a thing in some situations.
Gotcha. What did they do in that? I didn't follow that map. What did they do for the spy mechanic on that one?
Oh, yeah. I'm looking at it right now. Holy crap! What the heck is? There's a yeah. Go ahead.
I've got a video that talks about it, but I'll give you the 30-second version.
Yeah.
So
can I share my screen?
Recon basically can look at the reinforced path from one of the bases, but you can go through the forest and take a slower reinforced path to basically avoid the spy.
Interesting. Okay.
So you can basically reinforce faster if you're willing to reveal your units.
Yeah.
So I thought that was it. The way it's done is really good, I think, and I'd love to see more of this. Because just seeing the bases,
interesting,
is like so lame.
Yeah,
it takes a lot of the nuance out. It takes a lot of the creativity out, and it can lead to really stagnant games. So I hope that we can kind of get away from that, at least, or at least have like more deliberate thought about like what you're trying to show the base for, and maybe being able to remove it more easily, removing the spy more easily if it can see bases, things like that.
Yeah. It definitely goes way slower. Yeah, I hadn't noticed about this one. But it really slows you down. I mean, if you want to go really fast, you have to reveal your hand pretty much.
Yes.
Until you take it out.
That is wild.
Yeah. I didn't share screen, but I pulled it up on my screen, and I'm recording, so people will be able to see it.
I thought it'd be better if I just sent it to you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look for you can go ahead, but I'm trying to look for that one other, because there was a tournament like I mentioned. And I'm just trying to find which map that was.
Yeah.
That I'm a little curious to hear Elagatua comment on.
I think go ahead still for it. Yeah, for now. Oh yeah. This is kind of like a follow-up question, or like kind of like mostly for Humita. So Fog Plus.
Fog Plus.
Yeah. Okay. Can it salvage? Apparently, it works really well for like having very, very fast starts. So can it salvage mixed-based fog when you know that when you know that your opponent's is basically the day 3 recon is like no more.
For the uninitiated, what is Fog Plus?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's basically. Oh, okay. It is slang for like a 3K non-base income with a kind of a bonkers FTA counter. Like I think there's a current there's a GL map or either in or
Yeah, the map Backstabbers has that. It's pretty much you start with extra income early on, but the overall income of the map is normal. Like split income, it can be 18k. Like it's the same. It's just you start with more income in the very early, and we kind of used it for Backstabbers to deal with day 3 recon, because day 3 recons are a pain in fog to deal with map design wise.
Yeah.
Very easy for there to be FTA or for it to be too strong in general. And so accelerated early funding, aka Fog Plus or SDD Plus if it's for standard, that was invented by the magician here, the mad scientist. It kind of solves it, because sure, you can make a recon day 2 if you want, but you can also make a tank day 2. So it's like, are you really gonna send a recon out there when there's a possibility of a tank? Like you're not just gonna blindly throw a recon because you know you're gonna get guaranteed damage. Like there can be a response. So it makes there be a bit more of a decision making. If you want to make a recon early on to get some vision or try to harass, maybe follow it up with another tank or another artillery, but you're also slowing down yourself in income, because you can make it really early, but you need those infantry, in the early game, because if not, you're gonna slow your own economy. So I don't know, it makes it pretty interesting. Honestly, I'd be very happy to see more of it by map designers. That accelerated early income makes it pretty interesting, honestly. It might look kind of wonky, because I think player 2 starts with 3 bases and player 1 with no bases, something weird like that.
Yeah.
It looks really wonky, and it does it does tend to favor transport openings, but I'm not exactly depending on the map. I'm not sure that's a bad thing. Like if there's like a lot to do with transports.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be nice to see more of. I feel like fog maps have diverted more into recon RD, maybe tank, and transports would be nice to see more. It's very rare that a fog map has a transport opener, and usually when it does, it's because it has no counter. So
yeah,
it'd be nice to see that more variety, like you can have different openings, just because you can afford all of it early on, but not necessarily being high funds, like not having crazy income.
I showed both the maps that you sent, Advanced Warrior. I'm also going to link them down in the description. I think both those had pretty good examples of spy mechanics.
So you know, the missile and the submarine were at full health when I played in this tournament.
Interesting. So this is before the change?
Yeah, this is like before the change. It looks like I'm pretty sure they were full health. Oh my goodness! Like we were both Drake, and eventually it got to the point where we had no spies whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's what you want in the mid game.
No, that was like day 25 or something. Like it was a slog. It was a slog.
One is slightly faster.
It was a slog. I'm. It's gonna be on YouTube one day. It was a slog.
Also, the income on that map was like 28k. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a huge map. Speaking of mixed base fog, do you think Sonya is actually like pretty strong? I know we kind of trashed on her earlier, but all that extra vision range feels like it could be pretty strong in a situation where you can't always afford to build recons everywhere.
It'll be good. It could depend on like how good a person's tracking is.
Sure.
Map dependent, but like for mixed base fog, like vision is like I'd argue like twice as important as usual. But like Leary, a very talented map maker, like says it best. That's like you basically you have to see what your opponent is doing, like almost to a comical degree, like in mixed base, because like otherwise you're stuck blindly making decisions. And like granted, you can infer what they're doing as usual, like in usual fog. You can kind of like plan stuff, but there's just so many more lines that like any extra vision definitely helps.
Yeah, I'd be very curious to see like a Sonya tier 3 match on a mixed base fog map. See how that goes.
Well, on that note, so I actually played
I missed it.
Yeah, I played one.
All right, time to get refuted.
Yeah.
No. It's not refuting. I'm giving you what you want. In fact, this has already been played. It was me playing Sammy against Leary as Sonya on Piranha River. I am not really a believer in Sonya, partly because when you're playing mixed base Fog, you're already getting spy mechanics usually.
Yeah.
So having like the extra vision doesn't always help you that much. And at some point, seeing your opponent's units doesn't get you that far. It's about what they do when they fight each other. And oftentimes Sonya has problems when that happens.
Right. Yeah. It's one of those scenarios where it's like, yes, you can see where everything is on the map, but eventually you're going to have to fight something. And even if you're going into an advantageous fight, that luck, the no actual benefits plus the bad luck is gonna catch up with you, especially in the long term.
Yeah.
I don't want to go too deep in the rabbit hole, but yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking maybe a very niche scenario that Sonja could be good in mixed base Fog is because it is mixed base and Fog, you kind of have to either make the map very big or just add a ton of forest to kind of slow down reinforcements. So everything is not like one turn away from every base opponent. And so having more forest can mean that maybe her powers can pop up. They can pop a little bit more. You can reveal what the opponent has, and so it's almost like she has extra unit count because she doesn't have to use one to reveal the forest. She can just start hitting stuff from the everywhere, and has more vision. So maybe that's some little use case that could go in her favor there.
I would say Elagatua, if you have that replay, I'm not sure if you do or not. If you could send it, that'd be awesome. I may cover it in a video. I would also just like to watch it personally. I'm very curious how that dynamic would work out.
Well, I mean, I think it was part of a map test, and the consensus was that it was it wasn't a great map. Not because of the mixed base part, but because of the base light part.
That is always true. There's a lot of things going on in that map. There's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it definitely had issues. Like it is kind of funny. Like Elagatua even made a little video snippet. It got some free Elagatua content.
Unreleased. It's like
unreleased.
Yeah.
You guys think Days of Ruin flares would make a interesting spy mechanic?
I don't know how they work.
I have never played Days of Ruin.
You don't? Okay, all right. I have potential videos with you guys.
go back in time and put it into the cart versions of Advance Wars 2, and then
Absolutely. I know. I put Elagatua through that experience.
Yeah. Forgot it all.
I'm sorry. Okay, so it's what's the best way to explain it? It gives you a spot of vision in like a 5x5 tile diamond, like how a missile would be.
Oh wow!
And it would give it to you for. It has like a specific range of like where the center of the missile can be, and then like when it fires it, it just reveals that area, even inside forests and other hidden tiles. I think some maps in Days and Tiny Wars have used that as a spy mechanic before, but like a certain time you can use that missile and at like 1 HP and like 0 fuel, so it's just stationary temporary spy mechanic, and you choose where you want to see.
I think Go7 described the fog in Days of Ruin very well. It's a baby fog. Because not only do you have players, but like units, when they move, they give vision throughout the whole movement as well. So it's crazy. You move a recon and it's not only where it lands, it's like the whole trajectory, and Advanced Warrior got offended by that.
That was all the fog topics I like it too, so
okay,
it might be more. Yeah.
I mean, I give you my standard. You just probably shouldn't listen to it.
Yeah. Actually, there's one here that might cross paths a bit. Okay, I'm going to prioritize the ones that I think are a little bit more interesting. So the next one I'll go to is strategy-wise, holding expensive scops. So not using your covering fire or your lightning strikes or your ex machinas when they're available, but like holding on to them for 3 or 4 turns and then waiting, even if it means letting your opponent get more power. All right, 3, 2, 1, going. in the middle, and then everyone else underrated. Very interesting. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting to see all the consensus about it. Does anyone want to lead off? I have a few opinions, but I don't think they're going to be very different from other people's.
Was there anyone overrated?
I don't think anyone was. I think Humita, you were the closest with the on the fence.
Well, I was on the fence because I feel like it's pretty common nowadays to see that happen.
Yeah.
So I wasn't gonna say underrated because I feel like it's, I see it a lot, but sometimes I see it too much. It's like some people will hold for too long their powers, and the moments I don't know. There was a stream by Voice of Akasha. Probably was the last one. He said a phrase that just stuck in my head that people kind of hold their powers a bit too much sometimes, and they don't use it for like small gains, and that can really add up. If you can use it for maybe just one small winning fight here or there, it can kind of snowball the game. Maybe you're not gonna win right there on the spot, but it can take a while, and eventually it's gonna kind of win you the game or set you up for the game. And there's a lot of moments like that people don't do it. Myself as well. Like I've definitely missed opportunities of like maybe using a super in a moment, and it's like I'll just hold it on or I'll do this, and yeah, just missed opportunities. Like holding it for too long is a problem that I see a lot. So that's why I was like kind of mid.
I agree. People should use Eagle's Lightning Drive more often for those small wins.
Yeah, that was what I was maybe gonna put on the list, and I was like, "There's no one in the world who
There's
thinks Lightning
no
Drive is good."
Yeah, I think if they ever release a new game, they're probably gonna keep it close to like a Dual Strike Eagle than
Yeah,
Black Hole Rising Eagle.
Probably.
Yeah,
Oof,
but
that one's busted.
yeah, depends.
I think it depends on the holding scenario, what superpower you're talking about. Because like I think holding on to Lightning Strike specifically is probably like it can have some use cases, but you probably want to use it relatively soon after you get it, because you're already probably going to be down somewhat, especially if you're in like an Olaf match. Like I can see holding it past a Winter Fury, but wanting to use it soon after that. That way you're just not, because the lower your unit count is, the worse Lightning Strike is. So holding on too long and losing more and more units is just going to make it worse and worse. But something like Ex Machina, I can definitely see the virtues of holding, because it's essentially a power in itself by making your opponent not form death balls because he's scared of your Ex Machina. So you can just hold. It is in itself useful without ever having to pop it. So I think it depends a little bit who you're talking about, but yeah. Overall, I think underrated.
I actually think Humita convinced me, because I just realized like Voice of Akasha, like also like he definitely thinks of the game as like a definitely an economy game. Like it is a resource game where you spend resources in a better way than your opponent. Like you'll hear him talk about like high elo play as managing threats, for instance. And so you're spending resources for those threats, and like holding on to your power for too long, like you are spending the resource of not gaining power when your opponent just goes in for the kill.
Yeah.
This is going to sound a little bit simplistic, but I think when you're using your CO powers, the goal is always to use them at the right time, and the right time is not always going to be the turn that you first get access to use it. And so holding on to your powers needs to be something in your arsenal that you're comfortable doing. And everybody's mentioned quite correctly that as part of learning to hold on to your powers, you can make the error of holding on to them too long and lose. But at the same time, if you are always trying to lightning strike into a Winter Fury, that might be the wrong call in certain situations. And in certain situations, it could be the right call as well. But if you look at like Eagle versus Olaf against Eagle versus Von Bolt, which are Eagle's most two common matches right now, in Eagle versus Olaf, you really want to use the lightning strike either during the Winter Fury turn, so that Olaf is not getting charged from all the damage you're doing, or you want to hold it for a long time until almost their bar is filled up again. because you're trying to basically maximize the amount of charge that is overcharging their bar that they're basically not getting. You're trying to deny as much charge as possible. Von Bolt, though, you're likely getting smacked around by Von Bolt as Eagle, and so you're going to often end up with Lightning Strike first. And also you have the advantage of getting a full turn's worth of attacks to gain charge before you fire off that Lightning Strike. So it's generally speaking, you're going to get it first as Eagle, and you want to probably use it, because if Von Bolt gets it off first, then there's this big window where you're not going to be able to really use it effectively because you've got units locked down and things like that. So it's very, very bad if you let Von Bolt get that power off first. So depending on your matchup, the right time is going to be very different. So you really just need to understand the matchup that you're in and know what that right time is, depending on the map, depending on the CO. But frequently you will need to know to hold that power. And if you're always using it immediately, then there's probably something that you're not understanding in some of your games.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to add something about like Elagatua said about like if you're holding it on for too long, you lose the game. That happened to me in a tournament, and I think Humita, I don't know if you remember that. It was against Gertheroy in Tornado Road. I was Eagle, he was Max. That was like a long Tornado Road B2 Smacky Cup 2 or 3 round 4.
I don't remember that one.
That's either. I don't remember that one.
No, I don't even know if I showed you. I don't even know if we started talking at that point. But yeah.
I mean the match I don't remember. No.
That's fair. But I remember I was Eagle, and I felt like I was actually like getting like a huge advantage over Max, and I had my Lightning Strike, and I'm like, you know what? I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot. I'm just gonna hold on to it, and then they have their super, and I'm just like, oh wait, no, I definitely should have used it that last turn. But I think when it comes to holding your superpower, it some of it comes down to like mind games, like we've mentioned with covering fire. They're gonna position themselves. They're gonna brace for something like that, and then you could just take advantage of the fact that they've like mispositioned themselves, or like where you could get an advantage in a certain spot because their units are set up in a certain way, and then you could like potentially get a small gain there, and then you still have that big threat of the covering fire. So it just mainly just comes down to mind games, I would say, or like poker, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, that's something I often think about in my games. Is like, how much am I hurting my position waiting for certain powers and trying to counter certain powers versus should I just bite the bullet and say, like, I know your power is going to be good, but once your power is over, I'm confident that my position will be okay enough that I can keep on going and then get to my powers and win.
Yeah, it's more about like the long game kind of mindset.
No. I think about that stuff a lot with like, especially like going up against Adder in certain situations where it's like, is this infantry cap probably going to get interrupted by a side slip? Yes, but I would also rather him just pop the side slip and I know he's not going to get it the next turn, and then I can go from there. Yeah,
forcing powers from the other one is pretty good. Like putting them into situations where they have to use their power to come back or do that, like use another side slip. Drains the charge, makes it more expensive later. It's also a turn that they don't get charged from attacks when you attack back onto them. I mean, they have extra stats, but still. Yeah. Usually the best.
That's a very interesting strategy, kind of, especially at my level where it's not 800, but also not 1500 craziness going on. Awesome. How are you guys feeling? I got one more strategy one if we want to do that one as the last one, or...
Yeah, that's all right. I'm good.
Okay. So this one, I'm not going to say a name, but you probably know who I'm talking about. The strategy that I want to talk about is prioritizing income denial at the cost of unit count. So, yeah, what are we thinking about that one? So, like, and I'm talking like the extreme case here, so not like, an infantry here and there, but like making that your entire strategy of I'm going to be up on income, I really don't care about unit count, and that I'll eventually win in the long term.
Just deliberate remove you from city.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
literally putting a tank to interrupt the city when there's an arty behind to blow
That type of activity, yeah, like throwing
Not,
away a
not,
tank.
I don't know if this particular person does that to that extent, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do.
I'm pretty sure I've
I
seen
have
a
no idea
replay
what
or
you're talking
two.
about, by the way.
Yeah, no idea.
Yeah, you're right.
no-
Actually, yeah, that's a good point. I could be talking about the wrong person.
First time I'm hearing this.
I'm pretty sure I saw a replay with this person who may or may not exist where they did something very similar to that, just completely throwing away a tank to not even fully interrupt, like down to 3 HP or 4 HP. Yeah.
Oh man.
Sounds like an eagle beer.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess get your opinions and then we'll be ready and vote.
So we're saying this interrupting no matter what is overrated or underrated.
I would say the general form is prioritizing income over unit count. Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. That's a different question.
Okay. Yeah.
I think I'm ready, yeah.
How many units? How much income?
Yeah, it's a fair point. I would say like
so much nuance.
there is a lot of nuance here. I would say in the general form the community views unit count over income. So this would be saying like I think the community's wrong and I think income is actually a more important stat than unit count in the majority of cases. Like I guess keep that as your general statement, and then whether you think that is over or underrated. And we'll go into it'll go into the discussion. We'll go more into the nuances, and
I might not have a good answer, but I have a feeling for this.
Is that yeah? Okay, everyone
I'm
ready?
by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, it is overrated. It's so for Aaron, you underrated.
I picked under.
You picked under.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So all right. So hear me out. Like hold my beer. So, there's a few ways to think about playing Advance Wars, and one of the main, and a very popular way to think about Advance Wars is it's a game about powers. You manage threats, you blah 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 blah. But in the end, powers are what win games. Powers, like power usage, is what gets a flip or two. Powers are it is a game about powers, and the way you get more power charge is to have more stuff than your opponent that's like pricier. And so it's like if you're higher income, you will get more powers, and it's even to the point where certain players like for instance for a tournament that I'm playing with Starflash, spoiler the warning. We were considering at figuring out how to implement a simple advantage bar, and I was thinking the classic unit count or whatever, but Starflash was basically thinking unit value only for the advantage bar, kind of implying that it's you shove everything into your units and then you extract powers out of them, so to speak.
Interesting. Yeah, honestly, the point about income leading to power charge is obviously true, but it's not something I normally think about. Like when I'm thinking about power charge, normally I'm thinking about the trades of it's a comeback mechanic, right? Where you're getting more power charge by losing your units rather than killing other people's units. So, and I guess that leads even more into sacrificing unit count because you're going to be losing a bunch of units in order to get income to get more expensive units. So you're probably just going to get more powers. But then your powers are probably going to be weaker because you have less units. So it's kind of a balance. Yeah. Does anyone want to take the lead on the overrated side?
I'll go if no one wants to say it, but
Yeah.
I think it's definitely a very tricky, it's it's not a black or white, yes or no answer.
Yeah.
I said overrated because I feel like it can very easily be overdone. And in general, the community, I do feel like it's overrated. There's a lot of people that just go blindly for the income. There's a lot of I'm going to get the flip and then I'm winning. I'm 1K ahead. I'm winning. It's like,
Victory march.
hold on.
Yeah.
If you sacrifice 10 units and you're 20 to 30 and you have one city more, you're not going to win. It's very likely that also if you're losing unit count, most likely you have no infantry. You're usually having the same amount of tanks kind of thing, but the other guy has 10 infantry and they're ready to pounce on your cities. and they're going to be great walls as well. So then you're going to get into really bad trades because you have to send your vehicles to hit their infantry, and then they hit you back with the tanks.
Yeah.
So the unit count and just unit army in general, but that is what really makes the game flow. Like cities are sitting and they can't do much. They do generate income, and yes, they generate more charge, which gives you more powers. But usually your powers are affected by your units. So if you don't have units to then use your power, it's kind of pointless. Unless you're like a global damage, then yeah, sure. Brawl to death and like let global damage help you out there. But most COs, their power are based on their powers. Like imagine Sammy, like if she just sacrifices all her unit count just to get income, it's a classic case, Gets a bunch of income, and then maybe she can start pumping out, a Neo tank or something, or an extra tank a turn. But then, like, if she has more income but doesn't have, like, she should get the power and everything, but she's fighting with less firepower. Her stats are lower against possibly max or stuff like that. And you can have better units, but if you don't have unit count, again, it's a classic case of you can have a Neo tank, but if it's shooting at infantry, then what's the point? You need to have the support units to clear out so that then it can get value out of that. So I think Poland definitely. Oh, I said the name. Apparently, it's the player.
The Voldemort.
Cut that out, man. Cut that out.
I think he has like
he who shall not be named. Yeah.
He has like a somewhat positive rate in his strategy. He does it pretty well, but not always. Like sometimes he just goes all in sometimes and loses fights. Maybe the other one kind of baits him into fights that are not going to be good for him. He's definitely one of the best ones out there, as well with Starflash. They're very brawly and they try to get into that. But I think they're very methodical about that. They try to also nuke your infantry so that then you can't flip it back, or it takes you so long to flip it back that you have to take 5 turns to walk an infantry back to that city. That by that time, that city kind of gave them 10k, or difference, and then that's an extra tank that it's sitting on that city by that time. That kind of thing. I think that's their kind of approach that ends up winning the game. But it's very easy to just like go a little bit too far, and you can have more income. I feel like Lawrence was someone that kind of changed my mind about that. He like literally has it on his profile. Like, I don't care about city flips kind of thing. He'll play like behind an income, but he prioritizes like value, like unit army value and positioning in general. And he'll be down income like the whole entire game. And then you see him in the board and it's like, damn, this guy has like a dominating position on the map. There's so many opportunities that he can do and so many threats that he poses. Who cares about that extra income? And then he just ends up winning in a battle or two. So yeah.
One thing I think people don't necessarily make a mistake on with income, with unit count, but I don't think they realize, and something I've tried to bring up before in my replays is the idea of a unit count versus effective unit count. Of like, sure, you could have a matchup where it's like you're down, let's say 23 to like 28 units, and you have a couple income advantage. But if you had to put all of your units in really bad spots that don't have a lot of attacking options, or they don't have a lot of long-term plans in order to get those flips, then your unit count is not really 23. It's like 18 or 17 in terms of units that are actually impactful and fighting and are going to be important. And it was in that replay, not to reference too much of your stream yesterday, but the stream of the Tesla game versus Grimm guy, where if you remember, Grimm guy had like 5 infantry and 2 mechs up in the top right of the map that just like weren't doing anything, and then they tried to go for some city flips and it wasn't really important. But like when you look at the unit count of that game, it didn't look that bad for Grimm guy, but the effective unit count I think was really bad. And I think in a lot of situations where you're going too much for income, your effective unit count really suffers even more than your actual unit count.
Yeah, that's a good point.
One aspect of this that I think is maybe not talked about enough, and obviously we're not talking necessarily about just like yeeting units at properties blindly, but in general, like in a tactical focus on income on purpose with intelligence. I think it can be very, very valuable in fog, because even if you're sacrificing units here or there to deny caps, if it can secure you a longer term lead in income, especially in tournaments and things like that, it really puts the pressure on your opponent to do something about it. And having your opponent feel the pressure to need to attack you is something that can be very valuable and can allow you to win through other aspects of the game. Because you talk about like effective unit count. Well, one way to boost your effective unit count is to force your opponent to attack you on your side of the board so that their reinforcements are farther away and that your reinforcements are closer. Additionally, if you have even a small lead in income, in Fog, that's something that's going to let you start activating your airport more frequently. And that's something that actually will then increase your unit count in compensation. So there can be kind of an argument for doing some sacrifices or throwing units at a city knowing that they're probably not going to be able to survive in like a perfectly optimal or even equal trade. But if that buys you enough time to the point where you're able to equalize and compensate yourself for those losses because you're building more air units or you're getting tech out or you've damaged enough infantry that there's no longer a threat to capture that city in the long run, and then they have to come to you somewhere else on the map where you can prepare and be further back or fight on better terrain, things like that.
Yeah.
That's absolutely a valid strategy, and that's something that you see a lot in high-level Fog.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like, especially in tournaments with day limits, obviously denying income can be a lot more important. And I was also going to bring up the point about Fog. I think it is definitely more viable in Fog because in Standard and in high funds, you know when you have cities that can't be interrupted. But in Fog, there's always that, like, there's a forest there. What if there's an infantry just randomly, and there's more threats there. Yeah, I think it's how you phrase the question, right? Because if you phrase the question as of, can it be a good strategy at times, then the answer is yes. But the statement of, like, it's the most important factor, I still agree, is wrong. I don't think it's the most important factor on most maps.
Yeah. I know I'm going to sound like a broken record when I say this, but I value unit count more than income because, again, you're going to have like more dynamic turns. And Humita brought up something that I think is also interesting to think about, the fact that like you're using up all your resources to try to gain a property. Well, will that property like in return pay you back? Like, could it generate enough and can you hold it long enough to say like, okay, I sacrifice a tank, maybe 2 tanks and an infantry, get the city. Can that city like keep generating me income in order to pay that back?
Yeah. And I think it's a time scale conversation too, because I've seen people who are like, oh, I'm throwing away an infantry, which is 1K to stop 1K. But also you have to consider the fact that not only you're losing unit count, you're losing tempo. You got to rebuild that infantry, waste a turn on that base to build the infantry, and then send it back out to where you want the infantry. Like, it's not just always as simple as I denied 1K, therefore I can throw away 1K.
Yeah, I saw a high funds video by a true boss, and he had calculated on his replay where a tank was near 2 infantry capturing a city, and there's a medium tank that's right there protecting them both. He sacrificed his tank. He said this can only happen in high funds, but he sacrificed his tank to interrupt an infantry, and I don't think they ever got that city. And then the medium tank came in, hit that tank. That tank was still able to do enough damage to the other capturing infantry, and it was just like kind of stacked with how much income that their opponent lost from that play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think sometimes sacrificing tanks, for example, to stop caps is viable. Or even like your only infantry that's there to defend a city can be, but it depends a lot on the amount of infantry the other guy has, right? Because if they have one single infantry capping, it's like throw whatever you want at it and you're going to stop that. And that city's never going to get capped pretty much. But if there's like 3 dudes, 4 or 5 dudes behind that, like, and you sacrifice your only infantry, then you're probably better off like saving that infantry or the tank or whatever, because it's very likely that they're going to get it if there's 4 infantry behind it plus a supporting something behind, right? And already a tank. So it kind of depends how many follow-up infantry
there are there,
I think. So yeah, it's the nuance depends the situation.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it is very interesting. I love kind of talking about more of the strategy side of things because honestly, how I develop most of my strategy is watching, the Deejus reach certain level MMR videos and watching replay analysis and be like, oh, that's a cool idea. I should try that. And I remember seeing Poland, he who shall not be named, replays, where he's throwing away units, and I'm just like, I don't think that's good. It's like I don't know. But then he wins the game.
How does this person do it?
And then he wins the game, and I'm like, I guess it was good. So yeah, it's something I try to work in a little bit more into how I'm playing because I feel a little bit sometimes like I play the same match every time, and I'm successful. I'm doing well, but I always still want to learn some other strategies as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, so I have one kind of small closing thing that we can do. It's not really an over underrated thing, but just this is something I'm more curious about, and then we can go into outros and say bye to everyone. But I'm just kind of curious your thoughts about global league elo versus like tournament success as a determiner of strength, because I think I've definitely run into tournaments where someone's like not as high global league elo and then they crush me because they're just like a tournament player. And also not to name people, but there's definitely some players I think whose elo is not as high as it probably should be, who are absolute killers. Yeah, who are absolute killers in that type of play. So what do you guys look for when you're trying to figure out the strength of someone? And do you think tournament success is actually a more important indicator than something like global league elo?
I would say
Probably a
like
question for JJ.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I don't just look at elo when I'm looking at my opponent. I look at their replays and see like how they play and like what they would do in certain situations, and also not just the elo itself, but also like I was part of a conversation that happened like months ago about like what's the word, like when a player like plateaus or whatever. It's like they like a good player like probably like start growing in elo, and then maybe they just kind of like steadied in a certain spot. So like if I see something like that, I would probably like maybe look at that just for like a face value. But then like I get into replays and past matches, and that's what I kind of look at. As for tournaments, I don't really look at tournaments that often, but I would definitely not take them for granted if I see good tournament results from an opponent.
Yeah. I'll kind of share my perspective on it. I think when I'm looking at someone, I think globally elo overall is slightly overrated because it is very swingy. Like I've seen a lot of people before that were like 1400 at one point and then went down to like 1100 and then came back up, and it's like a lot of that can sometimes be how someone's feeling or stuff going on in their life. I know there was recently a time where Starflash just like booted all of his games. Like he had like 8 games going on at once and he didn't finish any of them. And I don't know what was happening with Starflash, but like his elo tanked to like 200 elo off that, and I'm like, okay, that's awful for some poor 1100 who got matched up against 1220 Starflash or whatever he was at. Like just not a fun time for that person. So yeah, I try to look at some of the factors. I think people try harder in tournaments, I guess is my statement. I think people are much more focused in tournaments, and when you see that level of success, it can be a higher indicator of how good someone actually is.
I think that motivation is really the primary determining factor of how someone's going to perform. And I think more often people are willing to play more experimentally or more casually in Global League. That being said, there's something interesting that I've observed, and that is the longer the player's been around, sometimes the motivation curve can kind of like peak and then start dropping back down because these tournaments run for a long time.
Yeah.
And a lot of the really top players have also been playing for a long time. And I do see that there have been a number of examples that I've witnessed very recently where players that are really, really good kind of didn't stay motivated to play at their best. And so sometimes you're just never really sure what you're going to get in tournaments. because a lot of the best players, you know that they're capable of playing at like a really, really elite level, but they're kind of mailing it in the tournament because they're ready to take a break, but the tournament's been going on for 6 months and they don't really want to like just lose on purpose.
Right.
So yeah, that's a real thing, especially with some of like the better known players, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I also
think.
Go ahead.
No, I think probably what I've tried to do recently, maybe I don't know, it works more for me. I just don't even look. Like I don't even pay attention at the other players like elo or like history. Like I just play, as if they're a very strong opponent, and like I just pretend that they're gonna do something that I try to think what I would do in their situation and try to prep for that and do that kind of thing. But it's kind of hard because it's easy, especially in standard. It's very easy to just like move plan, the life out of you several turns ahead, and it's just easier to just like plan one turn, just to like one, maybe two or 1.5, just like, and just take it one turn at a time, so it's not too burdensome the planning. But yeah, it's just it's maybe easier when you're facing, like, for example, in Division 1, you have like, I don't know, 20% or 25% is like players that you probably know, and then there's 75% that you don't know, that are like new, like 1300s, 1200s, 1400s. So with those, it's easier to just like, okay, this is like a blank slate. This is a person that I've never seen before. I'm not gonna pretend that they're bad, because that is a huge mistake that a lot of people do. They're just like, this player's 300 EO lower than me. I'm gonna easily beat them. It's like, and then they get, the underdog and ends up winning. But it's also easy to, what Elagatua was saying, like you're playing against a good player, like a well-known player, and you're like, oh, I'm super scared, and then you underplay or you get too nervous, and there's just too many emotions, So I think it's easy to just like take it one thing at a time. And I'm trying to say that to myself because I'm gonna face Jokas now in the America Cup 5. So I'm like trying to be like, okay, let's just pretend like I don't know this guy.
Yeah. and sometimes those tournaments just have brutal draws. I think it was either the America Cup or the Quack Cup, but the division that I'm in, I think it was a True Boss was facing Toulouse in round 1. I believe that was correct, but there was something, I think it was like Toulouse was like massively underseeded or something because it was ELO, and I was like, man, that is a tough first round to get when you're going into some of these tournaments.
Yeah.
I think one of the things, a point that I'll bring up as well, I think where you truly start to see some people's level of play is any of the money matches that have happened. So whether that's like streams or some of the tournaments, like APC, I think the level of play in APC was really, really strong. And I think, it not very obvious, I guess obviously, but like when you put some money on the line, people I think try a little bit harder and are going to play. Going back to that motivation idea, they're going to play a little bit more.
You would think.
Yeah.
It's not about the money; it's the glory.
Yeah.
I think it's more about just like the reputation in general, and just like how much hype there is in general. It definitely felt like in APC, I don't know, something clicked on people in general in the community, and the players were like, I mean, especially Starflash, like prepped like crazy. Other players didn't prep anything. Like Torjred apparently hadn't prepped anything, any map.
And he got second.
And he got second place.
Oh my gosh!
But yeah, it's all about that motivation, like Elagatua was saying, and it can be money, but it's also just like reputation, I guess, in general. If a tourney is high, definitely APC was crazy. The level was like way too high. Like beyond my comprehension.
I think it was fun too, going back to what you were talking about too, where it is anonymous, so it's like you're actually in that scenario where you don't know the person you're facing, both for their strategies and how strong they are. It's like I think that would be a cool feature if Advanced Wars added that to the site, like did a tournament where it was anonymous and you just didn't know who you were facing. It'd be fun. I
mean, that feature exists. You just make an alt.
Yeah.
Pretty common.
JJ like looking at like every Div 1 player like with suspicion.
Checking them by IP.
This game ended after 4 days.
Check their IPs. It's just like they've never matched against Starflash. I wonder. It's like they're never on Global League at the same time.
They're doing like Sherlock Holmes detective work.
Everyone's trying to figure out who Grimm guy is at the same time, doing the same process.
I think they know who it is. Not JJ in particular, really. Like I'm pretty sure
it's
they know
content.
who he is. But of course, with culture, they're not going to say who.
Yeah,
Of course.
Yeah. No, it's content, just 100%.
It's content,
it's
absolutely.
content.
Yeah.
It's content.
Speaking of Grimm, I know we're trying to close this off, but there's like one more overrated, underrated thing I want to ask everyone here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go for it.
Grimm's theme song, overrated or underrated?
I think it's viewed very highly, but I like it. I think it's fun.
Don't do this to yourself.
Yeah. Dude, you will find it. You will find it in pretty much every one of my replays.
In the YouTube.
You just hit 800 subscribers and now you're doing this. What are you doing?
I already had a live stream where I put Grimm in like low tier for music. I already did that, so I think
Your opinion on Grimm and Deejus' opinion on Sensei's theme are just like heartbreaking to me as two of the ones that I like the most. And yeah.
Wait, where did I put Sensei's theme song? I gotta look that up again.
It's so fun. It's like a jazzy bossa nova thing. It's like great. And Deejus is like, it's boring. I'm like, what are you talking about?
No, I don't think he says it's boring. I think he says like it's like overplayed in his head or something like that. Oh, and I am back to 799 subsubscribers. Yep, that checks out. That checks out.
fast.
Somebody saw the video before it even came out.
Yeah.
That checks out. I put Sensei in S, I think. Yeah.
Where he should be. Yeah, especially on the superpower. So yeah, let's go ahead and just head to the outro here. So I just want to give everyone the opportunity to just shout your channel a bit. If there's any projects you're working on that you think are going to be super cool that you want people to check out, go ahead and take the opportunity. And I guess before we get into that, just thank you guys everyone for watching. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. It's awesome to spend time with you guys and talk about these topics. I hope the viewers watching this also had a great time as well. But yeah, we'll go around. So we'll start with Advanced Warrior if you want to plug anything.
Not really too much. Content creation's been a struggle, but I am hopefully trying to like work a different shift so I can have the house to myself, and therefore making content should be easier. I'm still trying to pump out a video every once in a while. In fact, there's one I'm working on right now. Might be a while until then, but I'll try to stream as often as I can, and we'll see what happens going from there.
Very nice. Look forward to the new vid when it comes out.
Thank you.
Yeah, go into Elagatua.
Yeah, I just want to shout out to my son. He's almost 2 years old. It's really exciting. It's a lot of fun. And also I want to do kind of an unconventional shout out to the Zelda Ocarina of Time randomizer community. That's another project that I'm involved in. I have my own game mode that I have designed for that community called Triforce Blitz. There's zero overlap between this community and that community, basically. But
Other than
if you
Nintendo.
want to play like a game mode that I made and that sounds interesting, come check that out. It's a lot of fun. It's like puzzle randomizer. I don't know, it might be interesting. But we're doing our fourth season 4 tournament right now. So we got renewed for a 4th season. So it's a co-op tournament, and we're getting pretty close to the finals now. At the time that this goes out, I don't know where we'll be, but so if that's something that sounds like it might be interesting to you, check it out. There's a randomizer Discord that you can find pretty easily. So
If you want to send me the link, I can throw it in the description.
absolutely, I will drop it in the description or the chat here.
Yeah.
Elagatua is going to be at your house and just like, let me just put that manually myself.
Get into the editing room. Moving on to Humita.
If you guys want to watch some Advance Wars content, you can just... There's some stuff on my channel, lots of videos, and I'm trying to do more live streams now. I've been really busy recently, so it's harder to find time to record and edit and that kind of stuff. But we'll see what happens this year. But that's kind of the idea. If you like doing 2v2s and, I don't know, FFAs live, stay tuned for some streams of those, because those are all fun. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I just have that channel.
Yeah. Go check out his vids. They're really good.
All right. If Humita won't sell himself, I will sell himself for him. All right. So shout outs to Humita, his channel, and specifically his Patreon. Oh man, yeah, he has one. Check it out. Yeah, like best second monitor content on the internet. Like pretty up there. Well, like just imagine like his videos now, except with like $3,000 audio equipment. And like he has like Yeezy shoes on or something. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well,
What about you, Soforan?
Yeah.
Say anything about it.
I sometimes stream, very, very rarely.
Yeah.
Says the guy with the VTuber model.
Yeah, says the one with the professional stream setup.
$800 worth it, huh? So for rent.
Yeah, totally. Saved up for it.
Like,
I make
well
weird faces. I know, right?
Yeah, I'll close it off by saying I don't want to spoil too much, but I think there's going to be a lot of fun stuff coming up with the Advanced Wars by Web community coming up soon. I know a lot of people here are working on various projects that have been talked about. Not to spoil anything, but stuff is coming up. There's going to be very exciting things coming up. So it's a bright future for Advanced Wars for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Also, the monkeys are coming. The Umber Wilds sometime this year, maybe next.
when Silk Song is released, it'll come out. Yeah. Same day.
I can't wait to play the monkeys in 5 years.
Yeah. Around the same time. All right. Thank you guys for all coming by. Thank you guys so much for watching the video as well. My name's been MansaMusa. Check out these guys in the description, and have a great day. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.